I was standing on the porch of Mrs. Thompson's house, a little yellow bungalow with ivy crawling up the bricks like it was trying to escape something. I had her son's headphones in my jacket pocket left behind at school again, and thought I'd do the polite, forgettable thing. But what opened that door was anything but forgettable. Mrs. Thompson stood there in nothing but a single white towel, no robe. No leggings, just a simple wrap clinging to her damp skin like it had fallen in love with her. God, did it cling? It hugged her chest with bold precision, revealing the curve of cleavage, the gentle rise and fall of her breath, the shimmer of her collarbones, and the gleam of freshly showered skin. She tilted her head with a smile that looked recently kissed. "Oh," she said, voice like honey on warm toast, "you're Alex's friend, right?" I nodded dumbly, forgetting my own name. She didn't move to cover herself or apologize, just leaned against the doorframe, the towel sliding dangerously up one thigh and dipping low on the other. "You can come in if you'd like," she said, stepping aside. The towel shifted as she moved, molding her like silk over sculpture. Inside, the air smelled of vanilla and jasmine, the lighting low and golden, shadows dancing over her bare shoulders and toned legs. "I just got out of the shower," she said, glancing back, hair dripping down her back. Towel dipping slightly, not enough to fall, just enough to tease. "You want some water?" she asked, stepping closer. Swallowed. "Sure," as she passed. The towel grazed my arm, barely there, but unforgettable. She returned with a glass, our fingers brushing, her eyes saying more than her lips. "You're quiet," she said, crossing her legs slowly, the towel riding high. "Is that how you always are? Or just when there's a half-naked woman in front of you?" Laughed nervously. She didn't flinch. "I don't bite," she whispered, leaning forward, "unless you want me to." I was speechless. She leaned back, towel slipping just enough to show a deeper valley, a flash of side boob disguised as an accident. "This towel's doing it best," she said, playing with the edge near her knee. "But it's not made for company." Her gaze tested me, and I was failing. My heart thudded as she stood, golden light catching every curve, towel swaying like it loved her too. She stepped closer, touched my chin with a damp finger. "You can leave those headphones on the table," she whispered, "or you can stay and make the evening a little more interesting." Then she turned, walking down the hall, the towel clinging tighter with each step. And just before she disappeared, she looked back, smiled, and said, "I'll be in my room if curiosity gets the better of you." The house was silent now. I stood in the living room, fingers still curled around the glass of water she'd handed me, heart still thudding from the moment she opened the door, and that towel white, damp, clinging like it knew every inch of her. And now she was gone. Somewhere down that hallway, where the light grew dimmer and the air heavier. Yet I could still smell her jasmine, vanilla, something floral and feminine that lingered in my lungs like a spell. The headphones were in my pocket. I could have left. I should have. But I didn't. I stood there like gravity had shifted and her presence had become the new center of everything. Then came the sound, a soft creak of a door opening, followed by her voice, lazy and warm, calling out, "Still here?" I stammered back, "I'm just—" "Yeah," suddenly parched. "Come here for a second," she said. Gently, no pressure. Just a doorway I could still walk away from. But I moved toward the hall, golden living room light fading behind me as her bedroom door glowed ahead like a portal. Through the crack, I saw her, Mrs. Thompson, by the bed, back to me, still wrapped in that same towel, but now looser, lower, revealing the curve of her shoulders, the faint dip of her spine, her skin glistening like sculpture under candlelight. In the mirror, I caught a glimpse of side cleavage and the confident grace of a woman who knew exactly what she was doing. She turned, meeting my eyes through the reflection. "You really are shy," she teased, that steel-melting smile returning. "But you're still here, so you're curious." I could only nod, my voice caught somewhere between fear and desire. She stepped toward me, slow and silent. "Want to know a secret?" she asked. I nodded again, almost didn't answer. "The door," she whispered, fingers toying with the edge of her towel. "But something told me you'd be worth it." Then she reached for my hand and placed it gently on her waist, right where towel met skin. She was warm, impossibly soft. I didn't move, couldn't. Her breath found my lips as she leaned in. Eyes locked on mine until she kissed Measlow, deep and searching, like she'd been saving it. Her lips moved with a patience that unraveled every coherent thought. Her hand held the back of my neck, anchoring me in that moment. When she pulled back, eyes still on my mouth, she asked, "Still want to leave?" "No," I breathed. Smiled, turning toward the bed, letting the towel slip just enough to reveal the smooth length of her back before catching it again and tossing me a wink. "Good," she whispered. "I want to see how curious you can really get." Vanished behind the curtain of her hair. The bedroom was quiet, but it wasn't calm. Candlelight flickered across the walls, casting shifting shadows like whispers moving behind thin curtains. And Mrs. Thompson stood at the foot of her bed, her back to me, towel barely holding on. Hair falling over one shoulder like a veil concealing. Secrets. She didn't speak at first, just let the silence stretch and simmer, thick with tension and possibility. Then she turned, slowly, the towel dipping deliberately to reveal the soft swell of her breasts. Porcelain skin kissed by shadow, hinting at more without surrendering all. Her eyes met mine with an amused glint. "You ever play chicken?" she asked, her voice low and playful. "What kind?" I replied, confused. "The kind where someone flinches first," she said, stepping forward. "Except this time, it's with touch." Inches from me now, her heat reaching through the space between us. She took my hand and placed it gently on her waist. "You can go higher. Or lower," she whispered, guiding my fingers along the delicate edge where towel met skin. "But if you flinch first, I win." Her gaze never wavered, and it wasn't really about a game. It was a dare, a shift. In power, a silent invitation. The towel dipped again as she moved, revealing the soft inner curve of her breasts. Full and tempting, restrained only by the thinnest fold of cotton. Her centrose, jasmine, in something entirely her, was overwhelming. Like stepping into a memory you never wanted to forget. "Still playing?" she asked, lips a breath away from mine. I didn't answer. I couldn't. She kissed me. This time with hunger, fingers sliding into my hair, pulling me closer, her thigh pressing into mine. Her towel shifting with each motion like it was barely surviving the storm. Her kiss was slow, deep and consuming, like she was peeling back every layer of hesitation with nothing but her mouth. When she finally pulled back, lips still brushing mine, she whispered, "You're still standing? It's impressive." I managed a shaky breath. "I don't think I can move." "Good," she said, backing away, the towel threatening to fall with every step. She sat on the edge of the bed, legs crossing slowly, parting the towel just enough to reveal the smooth line of her thigh and the rising slope of her chest. She adjusted a pillow, and the fabric dipped again, offering a deeper glimpse of the shadowed valley between her breasts. "I like this," she said, smiling. "Having someone around who watches me like I'm not invisible." "You're far from invisible," I said, my voice low. Her smile widened. "Come closer." I did. She reached up, her fingers resting lightly on my chest, nails tracing a lazy line that sent sparks through my skin. "You feel tense," she teased. "You make it hard to relax." "Do I?" she asked, head tilting. "Or do I just make it hard to pretend you don't want something?" She leaned in, lips hovering over mine, her breath warm, her body still and waiting, and then she stopped. She didn't kiss me this time. She smiled, wicked and knowing, and whispered, "Now, it's your turn to ask for it." I stood in front of her, heart pounding like a war drum. Mrs. Thompson sat perched on the edge of the bed, legs crossed, towel barely hanging on, fabric slipping lower across her chest with every breath, thighs exposed to the golden light. One shoulder bare and offering the soft curve of a breast like a whispered temptation. She only watched, wicked smile playing on her lips, pulling me taut like a string she knew exactly how not to snap. "I'm waiting," she murmured, smoky and low. Or did the brave boy from the hallway disappear? I swallowed hard. "Said it was my turn," I replied, trying to mask the quake in my voice. "It is," she whispered. "Ask for what you want, just once." The air between us pulsed with heat and static. I stepped closer, hand resting on her thigh, skin warm and velvet smooth, muscle twitching just slightly at my touch. She inhaled sharply, so I moved higher, slowly, teasing the edge of the towel, never quite crossing it. Her eyes fluttered, then opened again as her hand caught my wrist knot to stop me, but to guide it, lifting it gently to her waist before letting go. "You're getting good at this," she whispered, "but I want to see what you really want." Then she uncrossed her legs deliberately. Sinfully Anne let the towel fall open just enough to show the full curve of her thigh, smooth and golden, inching toward places the fabric barely covered. Still no reveal, but the anticipation was blinding. Leaning back on her elbows, she let her hair spill like silk down one shoulder. "Here's the game," she said, voice like silk-draped fire. "You have 5 minutes. You can touch me, kiss me, explore me, but only where the towel allows. Break the rule. The game ends. Bay it. And maybe you earn part 2. I stared, stunned, as she closed her eyes and whispered, "Start the clock." Dropped to my knees between hers, hands sliding up her thighs, every movement slow, reverent, deliberate. My lips found her collarbone, then the hollow of her neck, then the slope of her shoulder, all soft heat and trembling breath. Her fingers threaded into my hair, her voice a sigh, my name spoken like a secret. I traced the edge of the towel around her waist, never crossing, only tempting fate. Her stomach tensed beneath my touch, her lips parted in a breath she didn't. No, she held. And just as I pressed my mouth to hers again, the towel shifted, not completely, just enough. A deeper glimpse. A hint of lace. The illusion fraying. I froze. She didn't. Her eyes burned into mine. "Still have 30 seconds, she whispered. So I leaned in, my kiss deeper, hungrier, sharpened by restraint.
I'll be tight.
Her body arched against me, her hands pulling me closer as we hovered on the knives. Edge between obedience and temptation, never slipping, only surrendering to the burn of what we couldn't yet touch. When time ended, she broke the kiss. Lips flushed, chest rising and falling, the towel barely in place. She breathed. Was better than most men do with no rules. Then she stood, calmly adjusting the towel like nothing had happened, like everything had. She turned one last glance over her shoulder, eyes daring. "Next time, let's see what happens when we break the rules." Da! I couldn't stop thinking about her, the way that towel clung to her body like a secret barely kept, the way she lay back and dared me with closed eyes and parted lips, as if she knew exactly how to drive someone to the brink and leave them trembling on the edge. And now, here I was again. Friday night. No headphones, no excuse, just her. She opened the door slower this time, stretching the moment like honey, and when I saw her, something in me froze. She wasn't in a towel anymore. She wore a thin, white nightshirt that skimmed her thighs and shimmered just enough in the hallway light to reveal what it didn't conceal. No bra, no fear, only a plunging neckline sculpted to draw the eye and hold it hostage. She looked untouchable and inviting all at once, a goddess in moonlight, armored in confidence. Her smile said I had already lost. "I was hoping you'd come back," she said, stepping aside. "I almost texted you, but something told me you'd feel it too." I stepped inside wordlessly, the door sealing us into that familiar haze of warmth, vanilla, jasmine, and candlelit quiet. She walked ahead of me, barefoot, deliberate, and the shirt swayed like it had its own secrets, revealing the curve of her hips, the soft press of thighs, the delicate lace underneath. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was offering. "Remember the game?" she asked at the hallway, hand on her hip. "Yeah," I said. She came closer and took my hand, placing it beneath her shirt, skin to skin. "Tonight," she whispered, "there are no rules." And then she kissed me, not hesitantly, not like a question, but like an answer. Her lips were soft and sure, her body pressing into mine, as though the weight between us had grown too loud to ignore. Her hands slid down my arms while mine found her waist, her kiss deepening until there was no space left for doubt. She broke away, breathless, and whispered, "Now I want you to break every line we drew." She guided my hand up the back of her thigh, around the curve of her hip, resting it at the warm skin of her lower back, her eyes locked to mine. She leaned in close, mouth brushing my ear. "I'm not wearing much under this," she breathed, "but I want you to find out exactly how little." Then she stepped back, lowered herself to the couch, legs parting just enough to pull me in, shirt rising just enough to leave nothing to question. And that was when it happened, the shift. No more pretending. No more polite restraint. More games. Just her, waiting, lit by flickering candlelight, breathless and unafraid. Mine, if I was brave enough to reach. So I did. And when I touched her, when I kissed her again, it all poured out, every restrained breath, every hidden hunger, every unsaid word turned to motion. She didn't say another word, and she didn't have to. Everything she meant was in the way she leaned into me, the way her lips traced the side of my neck, the way her fingers slipped between mine like a secret. Her nightshirt slid from her shoulder as if even it had grown tired of pretending. We didn't stay long, just long. Enough for the moment to steal the air from our lungs. And in the hush of that little yellow bungalow, the world outside faded away. Just touch, breath, and the quiet. Dangerous thrill of almost. The house was almost back in order. Almost. The couch cushion had been smoothed, the candle blown out. The empty glass rinsed and set gently in the sink. Mrs. Thompson moved through the living room like a ghost, cleaning up the remnants of a sign no one was meant to witness. Her nightshirt still clung in all the same places, but now it felt less like an invitation and more like a memory. Then the front door creaked open. "Mom?" Alex's voice drifted in, casual, untouched by the gravity that still hung in the room. She turned to face him, barefoot in the hallway, chest rising just a little too fast. "Hey, honey," she said, calm and practiced. "You're home early." He dropped his backpack with a thud. "Yeah, Zach's mom had to leave for work early, so she brought me back." She nodded and slipped into the kitchen, hiding the way. Wine glass she'd forgotten, straightening the throw blanket, performing a quiet erasure of what had just been. "Did you eat anything?" she asked. "Yeah, pizza." "I'm good," he replied, already halfway down the hall. "You were still up?" "I couldn't sleep," she answered, her voice even. The house felt quiet. He grabbed a water bottle from the fridge, glanced around at the couch, the barely stilled curtain by the front door, but said nothing. Didn't see the ghost of someone sitting too close. Didn't notice the tremble in her fingers as she tucked her hair behind. Her ear? "Well, I'm crashing. Got school in the morning. 'Kay, night, sweetheart, night." The door to his room clicked shut, and only then did she finally breathe. Standing in the kitchen, one hand gripping the counter, she stared down. At the faint ring left by the glass, her pulse still raced, her lips still buzzed. And the air still warm, still scented faintly with him, seemed to hold the truth like a secret. Nothing had been seen. Nothing had been said. Everything had changed. The night air hit me like cold water. The instant I stepped out her door, everything that had been warm and soft and breathless was going to replace by a gust of wind that cut through my clothes, the quiet hum of sleeping houses, and the sudden weight of reality settling hard on my shoulders. I shoved my hands into my jacket pockets, head down, heart still pounding like it hadn't realized the moment was over. Each step felt heavier, like I was carrying something I couldn't put down. The street was empty, the world still asleep, but my mind was a riot. Her touch, her breath, the way she'd whispered my name like it belonged to her. The way her shirt had slipped, like even the fabric couldn't bear to stay between us. And then Alex's voice had sliced through everything, snapping us back to earth, reminding me of the one truth I had ignored until it was too late. I wasn't just leaving her house. I was leaving the line I wasn't supposed to cross. Line I had already shattered. Her warmth still clung to me, ghost-like. And with it came something sharp in my gut, not regret, but guilt laced with longing. Because I wanted it. I still wanted her. And I didn't know what that said about the kind of person I was. She had looked at me like no one else ever had, touched me like she was reading something buried beneath my skin. Now I was walking home. Under flickering streetlights, breathing like I'd just run a race, trying to hold on to something I couldn't name. The houses on my block looked unchanged. The sky was the same dull black, the stars half lost behind clouds. ... But I wasn't. The same I couldn't be. Even if no one ever knew what happened in that yellow bungalow, I knew tonight had rearranged something inside me, permanently. The days that followed felt like a blur wrapped in static. At school, Alex laughed like nothing had changed. Side by side in study group, cracked dumb jokes, talked about exams and deadlines as if I hadn't almost burned down the boundary between right and wrong in his living room 3 nights ago. I nodded when he spoke, smiled when I was supposed to, but I wasn't really there. My body was present, but my thoughts, they stayed with her, Mrs. Thompson. I hadn't heard a word since that night. No texts, no calls, not even a glimpse of her through the blinds when I passed their house. The silence should have felt like mercy, a reset, a clean slate. But instead, it settled over me like a storm waiting to break, something unfinished humming beneath my skin. And I knew she felt it too. Heard it in Alex's voice when he said, "My mom's been acting weird lately." He laughed as he said it, brushing it off. But I didn't laugh. I couldn't, because I knew why. 3 days passed, then 4. And on the 5th night, just after midnight, my phone buzzed. One message, no name, just, "Are you awake?" My breath caught. I stared at the screen like it might vanish if I blinked too hard. I didn't need to ask who it was. Mrs. Thompson. My fingers hovered over the screen. I hesitated, then typed, "Yeah." The typing bubble appeared instantly, like she'd been waiting, like maybe the message had been written and rewritten all night. Then I can't stop thinking about that night, another pause, then but we can't let it happen again. I barely had time to react before the 3rd message arrived, "Unless you're outside." I froze, heart racing. I looked up toward my bedroom window. Across the street, her house stood still and quiet in the dark, porch light off, blinds drawn. But one curtain, on the 2nd floor, was moving. I was out the door before I could talk myself out of it. The night was quiet in that eerie way where every footstep echoed too loud. Every breath felt like a confession. Her house stood under the hush of moonlight, unmoving ivy clinging to brick, porch shadowed. That upstairs curtain now still again? I didn't knock. I didn't have to. The front door opened before I reached the last step, and there she was, Mrs. Thompson, barefoot, wrapped in a dark gray sweater that draped past her thighs. Hair pulled up in a loose knot like she hadn't planned for company, but hadn't been able to stop wishing for it either. Her eyes met mine, and for a second the world went quiet in a different way. Not from absence, but anticipation. She stepped aside without a word. No welcome. No denial. Just a doorway and a choice. I stepped inside, the door clicking shut behind me with no lock this time. The living room hadn't changed, but everything in it had. The warmth, the tension, the clarity. She stood across from me, arms loosely crossed, not from cold, but from holding herself together. "You shouldn't be here," she said. I nodded. "I know. You said it wouldn't happen again, I remember." Her gaze fell, then rose again. "But you came anyway." I stepped closer. "You asked if I was outside," she laughed. Soft, uncertain. "I didn't think you'd actually come. Neither did I." The silence stretched, taut and trembling, until she looked at me, not like someone afraid of being caught, but like someone tired of lying to herself. "You know this can't keep happening," she said, voice breaking in places she didn't try to fix. "It's not just wrong. It's dangerous." "I know," I said, "but I haven't slept since that night." "Haven't either." She was in front of me now, closer than caution allowed, arms lowered, eyes scanning mine like she was trying to remember everything before she forgot who she was supposed to be. "Tell me to stop," she whispered. I tried. I really did. But nothing came. So she leaned in, slow, soft, sure, and kissed me again. And this kiss was nothing like before. It didn't steal or rush, it claimed. It knew exactly what it wanted and didn't apologize. Her lips moved with memory. Her body met mine like it had been waiting 5 days to exhale. The sweater slipped from her shoulder again, and her hands found my shirt, curling into fabric like she needed to anchor herself. Her breath hitched. Mine did too. We were pretending we had control. We didn't. We never did. And as we gave in again, not to impulse, but inevitability, we both understood the quiet, devastating truth. This wasn't a mistake we were returning to. It was something new beginning, and we had already stepped too far inside to turn back. We didn't sleep. Not really. We drifted somewhere between dreams and denial. Limbs tangled beneath the soft hush of sheets, the room still pulsing with the scent of skin. Sweat and everything we weren't supposed to feel. Every time I moved, to breathe, to sit up, to remind myself who I was, her hand found mine again, gentle but firm. Like some part of her was terrified I'd vanish if she'd let go. Her cheek rested against my shoulder, her fingers tracing slow, silent circles across my chest, anchoring us to the moment, even as her voice tried to push it away. "This can't happen again," she said, barely above a whisper. I didn't reply, not because I disagreed, but because we both knew she didn't believe it. Not fully. And neither did I. "I mean it, Mark," she added, though her fingers kept moving. Her body still pressed into mine like she was trying to memorize the shape of this mistake. "We crossed a line, and if we don't stop now," she trailed off, the words too heavy to finish, but the meaning sat between us, dense and undeniable. I turned to face her, brushing her hair back from her face, the way I shouldn't have. "We already did," I said quietly. "What?" "We crossed at the second." "You opened that door?" She looked up at me then, and in her eyes I saw every truth we were avoiding. Fear, yes, but also hunger, ache, guilt, doubt, and something deeper, something that didn't want to let go.
"Ow!"
"This is the last time," she said again, softer this time, like saying it gently might make it more real. I nodded. "Yeah, last time." And then we kissed, not like people slipping, but like people choosing to fall. Because it wasn't about losing control anymore. It was about not wanting to stop. When I finally left, hours later, the sky was just beginning to fade from black to silver. The streets were empty, quiet, and I didn't look back at her window. I didn't need to. I could feel her everywhere on my hands, my lips, my breath. In the slow ache of goodbye that didn't quite believe itself. But even then, even in the silence of that early morning, I knew promises made in the heat of surrender are never built to last. It happened 4 days later. Just enough time to miss her more than I wanted to admit. Not enough time to stop wanting her. Every unsent message made the silence heavier, more loaded. Every quiet moment felt like it should have belonged to her. And then, just like that, it happened again. Alex had texted that he was heading to practice. The house would be empty. I didn't ask. I just went. She answered the door in a loose white tank top and black yoga pants, barefoot, no makeup, and somehow she looked even more dangerous like that. No performance, no veil, just raw temptation with nowhere left to hide. Her hair was twisted up in a messy knot, but when our eyes met, everything inside me unraveled. No words, no hesitation. We didn't make it to the couch. Her back hit the hallway wall, my hands already under her shirt, her gasp lost in my mouth. As her fingers slipped beneath my waistband, both of us tearing through the lie we'd told ourselves just days earlier, she whispered my name like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. And then a sound. The front door. A key. A twist. A step. "Mom," Alex's voice, casual, loud, impossibly close. Her entire body went rigid, panic blooming, instantly in her eyes. She pushed me off her with more force than either of us expected. I stumbled, heart slamming, scrambling backward as she yanked her shirt down and tried to smooth her hair into something that didn't scream guilt. I ducked behind the wall near the laundry room, breath trapped in my throat. I could hear him keys clinking on the counter, the fridge door creaking open. She met him seconds later in the kitchen, her voice flawless. "You're back early." Coach canceled. "Storm's coming. Thought I'd grab a snack and maybe catch a movie." His footsteps were casual, but To me, they hit like warning shots. I could hear everything, every pause, every sentence, like the universe was holding its breath with me. "You okay?" he asked. "You look kind of flushed." "I was just doing yoga," she replied, smooth and effortless. "Didn't expect company," he laughed. "You and your downward dogs." My stomach twisted, stayed frozen in place. Barely breathing, heartbeat pounding in my ears. I heard the TV come on, the familiar show Alex always binged, and finally her footsteps returned, light but fast. She didn't speak. She just reached for my hand and pulled me silently toward the back door. We didn't kiss. We didn't say anything. But her grip on my wrist was firm, shaking, urgent. It was too close, far too close. And for the first time, as I slipped out into the dark without a sound, I wasn't wondering what would happen if we got caught. I was wondering who it would destroy first. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Alex's face, not suspicious, not angry, just normal, laughing at something on TV while I stood hidden behind the wall, still breathless and flushed from nearly being caught with his mother pressed against me in the hallway. It hit harder than I expected. The guilt had always been there, buried beneath the heat and hunger, tucked behind stolen glances and breathless moments. But now it had shape, a voice, a laugh, and it wouldn't let go. The next morning I didn't text her, didn't answer when she called. I just walked. For hours. No destination, just pavement, breath, and a growing ache inside that I couldn't outrun. But she found me, because somehow she always did. I was sitting behind the rec center, in the same shaded spot where Alex and I used to meet up before school. She didn't say my name, didn't ask if I was okay. She just sat beside me, knees pulled up to her chest, her silence as heavy as any apology. When she finally spoke, her voice sounded hollow. "So this is it." I kept my eyes on the ground. "It has to be." She didn't argue. Didn't beg, just nodded. "Because of him, because of everything," I said. "Because if we keep doing this, I lose him. And you do too. Maybe forever." Another long silence, and she whispered, almost too softly, "I wish I had met you first." That landed harder than anything else. I turned to look at her. "So do I." She leaned in, not out of desire, but from something quieter, sadder, like routine or goodbye. Her lips brushed my cheek light, warm, lingering not with lust. But memory, I let it happen. Just once. Then I stood. "I won't come back." She didn't cry. Didn't ask me to stay. She just nodded, like she was already bracing herself for the silence to return. She tucked her hair behind her ear like that simple motion might hold her together, and I walked away. I didn't look back because if I had, I wouldn't have left, and I knew I had to. If you liked the story, let me know in the comments. Your feedback means everything, and if you want more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and follow. Thanks for watching.